we're in the studio, in the Notsam Studio, and this is a very special in the Notsam Studio because, I try to get as much use out of this studio as possible just because I like it here, but it has been 6 months, I want to say, since I did an in-person interview at all, be it here or at Sirius, but it's definitely been since late February, beginning of March, since I had anybody actually in studio. And I think the last person I had in studio might have been R-Truth from WWE. I'd have to look back and find out. But today, in the Notsam Studio, is actually in the Notsam Studio, Ian Fidance. What's going on, man?
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for, as you can see, we are distanced. This is 6 feet, right?
Oh, even more than that.
It
Yes.
is, right?
Yes.
This is a
about
10-foot table.
Yeah.
So,
I'm teetering on the edge.
yeah. And this isn't exactly up to Rogan standards, but I texted you and I was like, yeah, I got tested. And you texted me and you're like, well, I got tested. And I was like, all right. So
Totally. And I think I was in some UV light at some point, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I've been showering in bleach just to make things go away. I keep getting tested, and the place is like, all right, come on, welcome back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I tell my friends, I'm like, yeah, I get tested once a month. They're like, for herpes? What's the matter with you? You know?
You're so used to like STD tests.
Yeah.
That you're like, you don't just ever get tested once. You get tested
Continually.
Yeah, you work throughout your life.
Yes.
And then you continue to get tested.
Yes. And I've had some wild times getting tested in the past back in Delaware. That it just, every time I go, it gets better and easier. But do you know Monroe Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah. One time he and I went to get tested together. And
not for COVID.
No. This is years ago for dual STDs. We were like, okay, questionable situation. I'll go with you. You go with me. And everybody in the office thought that we were like a couple because it kept talking about AIDS. And we were like nudging each other. Like, I wonder if they have it. I wonder if they have it. And they just thought we were like flirting.
Yeah. And you would come together as like, look, we can start having sex, but we both have to be tested.
Yes.
So we both know.
Yes. We come out. We're like, I'm clean. Let's do it.
Yeah. So what do you do? Can you go, when you're getting STD tested, can you just go and get the full run through? Like just test me for everything? Or do you have to specifically say, because I've gotten, I'm a serial monogamist. So I've gotten tested at like the regular doctor and just gone like, could you check me for STDs? And they're like, why? And I'm like,
I'm neurotic.
Yeah, I guess because you're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I touch a doorknob.
Yeah.
Please help. It's like a COVID test. When they first started testing for COVID, you couldn't get them unless you were like, I have a cough. So you have to lie in order to get like a full round of tests.
Oh.
You can't just get one for peace of mind.
You have to pretend you have symptoms.
Yeah. You have to be like, I've been dripping. You know? And they're like, all right, let's load it up. You know. But if you're like, look, I had a questionable situation. I just want to be safe. They're like, wait till shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure you're fine.
Yeah. You're a psycho.
Yeah.
And I mean, that happened before. I was 2 times I almost got like laughed out of Planned Parenthood because I don't know what it is. Did you grow up Catholic?
No.
No?
No.
Do you know Catholics?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew one girl who was Catholic who, like, she didn't come out as a lesbian until she was, deep into her 30s and divorced. And, like, and she realized, like, oh, my God, like, I never was attracted to men at all. It was just, like, I was on this life plan.
Yeah.
Because I was Catholic.
Yes. It is. Catholicism does this thing, and I think it's a lot of Jews experience it too, Italians as well, like this weird guilt thing, and it's just like my grandmother used to be like, when you touch yourself, it makes a baby Jesus cry.
What?
So yeah. So I'm touching myself, and I'm like, please don't shower me with tears, and it's this weird thing where like you're racked with guilt for like no reason. Like I have a buddy who grew up like Jewish, and all the guilt that he got put on him, he thought that he had AIDS because he fingered a girl with a hangnail. So like it's like this weird like cross section of like guilt and everything. And I even like wore a condom, and I was with a girl for the first time, and I was like, I gotta get tested, and I had like kind of like a sore on my cock, and I was like, oh my God.
You just like hesitated, like, what's the right word
Yeah,
here?
phallus. And I went to get tested, but what I didn't put together, because my nerves got the best of me, was the fact that I had broken my right hand. So my hand was in a cast. I was doing construction, and my left hand I was doing everything with.
Yeah.
And I go in, I tell them, they're like, okay, so you wore condoms? I go, yeah. And they go, and when does it hurt? And I go, well, if I'm, masturbating. And they were like, okay, and you're not using your right hand. Can I see your left hand? And they felt the calluses and like, yeah, just use lotion. So pay the copay and get out of here. And I was like, shit. It was just such a situation I totally could have avoided.
Yeah, because now it's embarrassing. It's like, you don't have any STDs. That's the good news, but you're stupid.
Yeah.
You're dumb.
Yeah.
You're
it's
dumb
like
guy.
going in for COVID and being like, I'm coughing. And they're like, oh, God, is it COVID? I'm like, well, I smoke a pack a day. And like, just leave. Just get out of here.
Yeah, I got COVID tested because my whole family, we went to Indiana for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And the huge difference between like wearing a mask and kind of staying away from people after you get out of the kind of coastal areas is alarming. So it was like, as soon like everything, I knew that it was going to come back negative. Like I was like, there's no way that we did anything that, but you never know. Like just walking through a hotel lobby, just like packed hotel lobby, nobody wearing masks. I'm like, do you guys not know what was going on? Like, have you?
I mean, were they looking at you like you were in the wrong?
Dude, that's why. And I told, we had, Robert O'Neill, who killed Bin Laden, and was like, did the joke about wearing the mask on Delta and got banned.
Right.
We had him on the radio show. I think I told him that, like, when he tweeted out, like, well, I don't wear a mask, I'm not a pussy. I was like, that's how you feel when you're in areas that don't wear masks. Like, I'm wearing a mask, and I'm like, I'm a dork.
Yeah.
In the I'm a dork. It wasn't until like halfway through Pennsylvania that we got back through, and it was like, oh, okay, I'm back to just being a regular person. Like if you don't wear a mask halfway through Pennsylvania into Jersey and New York, then it's like, what type of maniac are you?
Yeah.
But if you get into like Ohio and you're wearing a mask, like I felt like, and maybe this was all in my head, that everybody was like, who's Nurse Betty over here?
Square over here. This fucking loser. L7. Yeah, it's a weird thing because when I'm on the street and I'm by myself, I keep distance and I'll like smoke, but I'll walk around. I won't have a mask. I'll have like my bandana around. If I pass people, I put it on. But I was walking the other day and this woman had a child on her chest and a mask on. And I moved to the side to let her go. And she turned and faced a wall and sidestepped the entire way with her baby. And like this, like she was, like Ace Ventura when he's on the back of the wall, trying not to get seen. It was like that. I was like, this is it's not me, it's you. Like,
yeah, you're just making a production out of this.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Like I went into to a Dunkin' Donuts and I'd forgotten to put my mask on. And like I walked in and was just overcome with guilt. I'm like, I'm sorry, I forgot my mask. Should I go get it? And the ladies behind the counter were like, no, we forget our masks all the time. And I was like, oh, good. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, we this person in the back's got COVID. We know they won't spread it. Oh my God.
Yeah. We got the antibodies. We have it right now.
Yeah. Do you want some? Here, have it with the coffee. I went to Delaware and I was going to get my hair cut. And the day of, they were like, hey, you can't come in. Somebody tested positive for COVID. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. And on the website, they were like, we take every precaution for, COVID, whatever. I was like, well, I got to get my hair cut. So I went across the street to like a chintzy, whatever. And the woman's cutting my hair and she's like, oh, this mask is so annoying. When people aren't in here and people are in the lobby, I just don't wear it. I'm like, okay. She goes, I got to tell you, the first month I was cutting hair, I kept cutting people's masks off. But, I don't think anyone's going to get it. And I'm like, lady, what kind of world are you living in?
It's so weird, though, because like we were talking, they were like, nobody really got it from protesting.
Yeah.
Nobody got it. Like they were like in Sturgis, everybody was freaking out that all those bikers were in Sturgis.
Yeah, what happened with Sturgis?
They were like, depending on where you read it, they go dozens of people have gotten it from Sturgis. And I'm like, there's like 300,000 people there. If dozens got it out of 300,000, that's great.
And they're all packed in together, and every broad is on the back of their biker guy, just breathing into their neck.
Yeah, yeah. I still don't think anybody knows how anybody catches it.
No. Well, do you remember when it first came out? They're like, it stays on a surface for 37 months, and you have to spend 8 hours washing an avocado.
Yeah.
You know?
That was when like packages would get to your apartment, and you'd be like, wow, I'll leave this untouched for 2 weeks, and then I'll open it just to make sure. And then one day the news comes on, and they're like, good news. It can't be passed by hands. And you're like, what? Well, where'd the other information? This is the exact opposite of what you've been telling us.
Yeah. Oh, so wait, what we initially thought rationally is actually happening, and you lied? Crazy. Just like at first they're like, masks are bad. It doesn't make sense. And I got brainwashed because I'm like, yeah, masks are bad. And in my head, I'm like, no, why wouldn't you wear it to cover your fucking face?
Yeah. You're like, as long as I got my rubber gloves, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And now, like, you go around, you see the one person who's got gloves on. You're like, what is her problem?
I know. All these wannabe surgeons walking around. And I was trying to defend gloves. My girlfriend was like, wait, if you wear gloves and touch something, it can get on that thing. And I go, no, but the glove on your hand protects the hand. And she goes, yeah, but what about touching the thing? And I go, well, you gotta wear a glove. Like I just like blocked out logic and reason in my head.
Yeah, it will, because it makes you feel better.
Yeah,
that was the whole beginning part of this was just like, it makes you feel better. So just do the thing that makes you feel better, and then just try to justify it with some kind of logic that isn't there.
Yeah, like religion.
Exactly.
You know, like prayer.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, so when you were growing up, Catholic and in Delaware.
Yeah.
Did you see Wayne's World growing up?
Yes.
Okay, so I think for me and for a lot of people, that's literally the only exposure to the state.
Yes.
And I would imagine that growing up in Delaware, you were probably like, oh, this is pretty cool, because every kid thinks, that's pretty cool where I live. Like, you know, I'm having a good time. And then that movie comes on, and it's like, this can't possibly be what everybody thinks of my state, can it?
Well, it's like that thing when you leave and you see people without masks. You're like, people live this way? Like, I left Delaware, and that's all people said to me. And in Delaware, no one ever said that.
Right.
It was not like a joke.
Right.
Because when you leave Delaware, people are like, where are you from? Delaware. Here's the one thing I know about Delaware.
Right.
Let's say it. And I was like, okay, all right. But, I mean, also in The Simpsons, there was like a Delaware screen door factory.
Right.
Yeah, and also in Goosebumps, the first live action Goosebumps, it's like a scary story, and the kid moves to Delaware, which is all you need to know is it to frighten children. They're like, we're going to Delaware, you know.
Oh, hang on, my headphone just got.
It's a haunting of Delaware.
Yeah,
it's just, you mentioned Delaware, and shit starts going wrong.
Yeah, it really is funny that first thing. So it must have. It drove you pretty crazy.
Yeah,
for a while, but
it's
just like, just please stop bringing this up. Like, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, well, just like when people hear my name, Fidance, and they go, "Oh, like finance?" I'm like, yeah, like finance.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's probably like when I worked in Sam Goody. Like,
oh my god, yeah.
They'd be like, I can't tell you how many people would come into that store, and I'd be wearing the T-shirt that would say Sam Goody. And they'd be like, "Are you Sam from Sam Goody?" And I'm like,
No, I'm
it's not.
Sam from A Summer Job.
Yeah, why would it be named after my first name?
Yeah,
if I was Ben Goody, that would make more sense. But no, I'm Sam Roberts.
Ben Goody. Damn glad to meet you.
Yeah, like no, that makes no sense at all. But it would never.
But everybody thinks it's the first time you're ever hearing it.
Right. And there's got to be like, this is just the beginning. The ball is going to, the improv ball is going to start rolling here, and we are going to have some amazing material.
Yes.
And you're just like,
Sam Goody. I'd hate to meet Sam Batty. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. But it's like Twitter. When something happens, there's millions of people that come out with the same joke, and they think it's like all original. And it's like, no, like we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
You can't get, like, that's like, if someone said like, "Oh, your last name's Finance," I'd be like, "Yeah, you fucking asshole. Everyone else thinks it. You're not original." I just have to like take it on the chin and be like, "Yes, you're right."
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, on Twitter, it's just, and yeah, I don't mind everybody tweeting the same thing on Twitter. What I do mind is the guy who goes like, "Wonder where you got that from."
Mm-hmm.
You're like, you didn't see your tweet.
Yeah.
It's the most
Yeah.
thought of thing. There's 100 of the
Yeah,
exact
you know
same.
what? With all my following, I thought I'd get away with stealing something from an egg with 12 followers. You're totally right.
Yeah, I saw it there, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, yeah, let me go with this.
Yeah. No one will ever know. No one will be the wiser.
um, so I was thinking about this yesterday because when you first reached out, you were like, we should just come on and talk about the '90s for a while, and I was like, of course we should, because
Yeah.
that's all I think about. But I also was thinking about the fact that, like, I feel like as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate so much more of stuff that I didn't like when I was growing up. Like, it's not just when I think, of course, like, White Zombie and all that stuff, but like, I didn't listen to Nirvana growing up. There were all these bands I didn't listen to growing up. And then I'll go back into the era just for whatever reason, just to be like, I know this sounds familiar. And I'll go, oh, this is really good.
Wow. So you got into Nirvana as an adult.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
What got you into them?
Well, I think it was because my sister loved them.
Uh-huh.
And so I never even considered liking them. Like, the
Right.
only thing I could think to do was go like, oh, you like this band? They suck. And it was just that was all that I did. And so I was like, I was listening to like their hits, or one was in my head or something like that. And I was like, I think this isn't just familiarity. I think I like this.
Yeah.
And then I would just pick up an album and be like, oh, no, this is good. I should play this for my kids. This is.
Well, that's like a thing of when you have an older sibling or an older friend, they like turn you on to, like good music and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting that your sister's like, I love this incredibly historic band. You're like, fuck them.
that was my philosophy. Yeah. Anybody that tried to turn me on to anything, I'd be like, yeah, well, it sucks.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like things for the sake. If everybody liked something, I'd be like, no, that sucks. Like Green Day. When Green Day was like at its utmost popularity, I was like, they suck.
Yeah.
And people were like, how? Like, Dookie just came out. Everybody loves this album.
Yeah, we actually have proof that they don't suck.
Yeah, and
You're
I'm like,
no.
You guys are stupid.
Yeah,
this sucks. And that's another one. Like, I go back and I'd be like, oh no, this is good.
That's funny because I can't get into Green Day post popularity.
Is it because of the what they turned into? Like they kind of started as this sort of. I mean, they were always pretty poppy for a punk quote unquote band. Like it was always the punk band that somebody would go, yeah, I'm super into punk. I like Green Day, and you're like,
yeah, well, it's weird because they started at 924 Gilman Street in the Bay Area, which is where Operation Ivy started, and Billy Joe Armstrong was at their last show, and they used to like open for Operation Ivy. When Operation Ivy like disbanded, they kind of took over that scene. And Operation Ivy was like this total underground, like they were only around for 2 years. So that whole area was just like totally underground. Everything's we're doing ourselves. And then for them to get to the level that they got and then to change that like sound is kind of, I guess, the whole like sellout thing. It's like, well, you have to evolve and get better, but they evolved and got like weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it became like total radio music.
Yeah.
Like it was
everything was made for the radio.
Yeah.
But also, I guess like when you get to a certain point, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Like you're accumulating things in a family. It's like, well, I'm not going to go back and be like, let's record this in the garage.
Yeah. Like go back to having your fake British accent and stuff like that, where you're like, wait, I could put my kid and everyone's kids through college if I just record Wake Me Up When September Ends. Like that song will be played forever.
Yeah. Why don't I write a song that'll play at everyone's high school graduation for all time?
Yeah. Like you start out as like, it's all about the music, man.
Yeah.
And then you get successful anyway. So when you get successful, even if you keep your sound, when you get successful, people start resenting you anyway.
Right.
So your core fans are already starting to resent you. And then you look at like Train or something like that. And you're like, they have so much money.
Yeah.
Like, if everybody's going to resent me anyway, why don't I just.
Yeah. But at the same time, you have all these people that are like, why don't you, like put water on the snare drum and play and it'll get a good sound. You're like, yeah, that's what our band needs to do now. Like those 80 bands did that a lot where they would like get influence from, like Motley Crue's Generation Swine album. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
When it came out, then it like totally divorced from their old sound and it was just such fucking garbage.
Yeah, because you forget, like you don't realize, I think, that people are into your sound, not your band.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's not, you can't just make whatever you want, and as long as your name is on it, people will follow you.
Right.
Like, I liked this band because that's what they sounded like.
Yeah.
When you stop sounding like that, you're like, I mean, I still have this loyalty.
Yeah.
And I'll probably still listen to that album, but I can't.
But it feels so bad creating it and having everyone hate the thing that like keeps you going is they're just playing the same thing. But that's why I love Billy Joel. I saw him live in Philly at Citizens Bank Park, and he played like all his hits, and halfway through he goes, I haven't given you much of anything for the past 20 years, and I'm not going to start now, so here's some hits. And he just played the hits, and everyone was like, you're giving us what we want.
Yes.
We don't want to hear Piano Man Part 2.
No,
you know?
no. And I feel like that's the only way to do it. It's like, at some point you just separate the art from the job.
Yeah.
And you do the job for the people. And if you want to record all your weird stuff or do whatever you want to do, don't do it commercially.
Right.
Just do it at home. Do it for yourself. Create on your own, and fund that with going to Madison Square Garden every month and doing Moving Out.
Just having Stockholm syndrome at Madison Square Garden. Like, I can't leave.
But there's also you have to be strong enough, I guess, to look on the bright side and go, well, I mean, look, this is the most repetitive job in performance you could possibly have, but I don't have to do any work. I never have to come up with a new show. I never have to travel. Like,
I can just get drunk and drive my car into a house.
That's
this
it.
Is just he's just like playing, you know, like she's always a woman to me, and just in his head he's like vodka in a car, vodka in a car, vodka in a car.
Yeah. He's just staring at a bottle, going, I can't wait to drink that whole thing and drive home.
Yeah. Please get me out of this hell.
Yeah, but I think I think that is kind of the way to go at that level. It's the only way to maintain. Well, what usually happens is, I think for people like Billy Joel, like you see with every big band,
Mm-hmm.
you see it with Motley Crue, you see it with like Kiss, like all those bands that like achieve a certain level and are, for all intents and purposes, somewhat ridiculous, but still are able to achieve that level. Then as time starts to move, they're like, oh no, how do we keep up with this? And they go into a period of douchiness.
Yeah.
Where everybody's like, oof, no, they're not. And then if they can just get past that,
right,
then they're legends, and then they're set. People just like their old stuff, and they're all good.
That's what's interesting about Nirvana, because, you know, Smells Like Teen Spirit was the song that, like, changed a genre of music and a generation. So, like, you would think that they have to play it, like, everywhere, and they did for a while, but they got so sick of it that they would live start to play it, and everyone would go nuts, and they just switch into another song, and then they'd never play it, you know? And then
like they were teasing a thing, and they just go home, no encore, like we're not doing it.
And then they had to perform it like live, and they were so for a taping, they were so tired of it that they just like Kurt Cobain played the guitar like this, and when he sang, he just and like ruined it for everyone, because they were like, we're gonna blow our brains out if we do this. We can't. And guess what? I will.
Yeah. Yeah. Did Courtney Love kill Kurt? No. Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah. But they also evolved too, and like were so great. And they added another guitarist like at the end, and were like evolving and getting better, and people were on board with it. But they didn't evolve to where they're like, let's go electronic.
No.
You know, like
Yeah. And I feel too like they probably, I don't think they would have stayed together. Like I feel like their evolution would have been Kurt going off and doing his own stuff, and I think Dave would have wanted to form his own band anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because Dave, like, as talented and as much as in Dave Grohl, he wouldn't have wanted to be the drummer in Nirvana this whole time.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And he would have been trapped to an extent if...
Well, I mean, it's funny to imagine, like, Kurt Cobain just quitting music and then becoming, like, an author. Or, like, something. Or, like, just being a recluse, like, owning a fish shop. You know, like a bait and tackle store.
I see every music story like the film Rockstar, which is the Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No.
Dude, it's literally my top 5 movies of all time.
Really?
It's the best movie ever. For the life of me, I've watched it so many times.
Rockstar Watch Party?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I can't fathom how or why this film was made.
Really?
Like, you watch it and you're going like, it was made, I think it was made in 2001, because I think it came out right around 9/11, I think. But it's really, really loosely based on
Is it Jim Morrison?
no. It's really loosely based on what's it called?
Steve Perry from Journey?
No,
Oh.
no. But it's kind of that type of thing, but it's what's the band where the singer ended up coming out and he was breaking the law?
Oh, Judas Priest.
Yeah. So it's kind of really, really loosely based on Judas Priest. And already you're like, in 2001, like that's the period of time where I would think the least number of people ever cared about the story of Judas Priest.
Yeah,
like that would be that period where it's like they're not legends yet.
Right.
Like we'll get there.
Yeah.
But right now it's 2001. Like everybody's
Right. We have to legalize gay marriage, and then we'll
get
posthumously be like, Rob Halford, we love you.
Right. Like you're not listening to Limp Bizkit and then going like, I also like to listen to a little Priest. You know, it's not happening. But Mark Wahlberg. So in 2001, they do this 80s hair metal story. Mark Wahlberg is the star. Jennifer Aniston's in it. Like the cast is amazing. Yeah. And it's basically this guy, and he's in a cover band, and everybody's like, "You'll never make it, man." He's like, "We're a tribute band, and we will make it." And then he ends up like they kick the lead singer out of the band, and they find his tape, and they fly him to Hollywood, and he does succumb to the evils of Hollywood. And like I'm sorry to spoil it for you, but the ending of the movie is just so good. Because he ends up like he tours with him for like a year. And then it's just like he realizes it's just destroying his life and his relationship with Jennifer Aniston. So he walks away, and like he's broken up with Jennifer Aniston. And Jennifer Aniston goes to find him. And he's moved to Seattle and is literally in Seattle playing alternative rock in a coffee shop. And you're going like, so wait, this guy, it's like he comes across like a complete poser.
Right.
Because that's not, but you're saying, so this guy was in a cover band, like a Judas Priest type cover band.
Right.
Then he joins the band. Then he quits the band. Then he invents alternative rock. It's like
he's wearing flannel.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yes. He's literally wearing like he's wearing a Kurt Cobain oversized green sweater.
Oh my God. And just strumming in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Aniston's like, "You're true to who you are."
Yes. And Jennifer Aniston goes and finds him in the coffee shop and is like, "Chris, this is who you were always supposed to be."
And then he goes, "I smell a little teen spirit." And then that's how the movie ends.
That's right.
Wow, when you're with me, I feel nirvana.
Yeah. And then he looks at the camera like, huh?
Yeah. And then he goes, "It's Halloween. We might have to go out and smash some pumpkins." Credits roll.
Let me tell you something. Today is the greatest.
Yeah, I was in war and I found a bullet with butterfly wings. It was crazy.
And you're like, I know what happens next. I know where this is going.
Yeah.
It's really, it's bad, but it's so good. And like you get more out of it. It used to be on VH1 24 hours a day. That's where I never went to see this in theaters.
It was like VH1 Shawshank Redemption.
Exactly.
Just always playing.
Yeah. We should put Rockstar on again. It does very well on the weekends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would watch it on like TV, and like I slowly started to get all the parts, and then one day I finally got to the end and saw the ending. I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect movie. And I for the life of me to this day, I don't know if it was intended to be a comedy. I don't know if it was intended to be a biopic or a drama. Like I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the motivation for making it. I don't understand the motivation for any of the actors to sign up and be like, yep, this seems like a great idea to do.
Right.
I don't understand how all of the actors remain stars after. It's a total mystery to me, but it's also the most enjoyable watch you could possibly have.
I gotta watch it. Is the soundtrack good? Do they have? Is it all originals? And is Mark Wahlberg singing?
Mark Wahlberg is not singing.
No.
Zach Wilde is on the guitar. He plays the guitarist in the band.
Oh,
yeah.
No shit.
And Kurt Cuddy is played by the British guy who is in The Office. Not The Office.
Gervais?
No, yeah, exactly. No, not The Office. The Wire.
McNulty.
Yes, McNulty.
Yes.
Except he's got a big, like, long-haired, curly hair wig on. And
it's all just like Jack guys.
Yeah.
Like playing metal.
Yeah. It's so good.
Damn.
Yeah, and they do it. They have their band is called Steel Dragon. And
That's great.
They got all kinds of hits. They got all kinds of songs. And, that's the way he starts the song. He's like, I used to grow up with the posters of these guys on my wall.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm one of them.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go to a coffee shop.
Yeah. Really get in touch with myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were
that
you
coffee shop? Starbucks.
Yeah, the original Starbucks.
The original Starbucks.
You're becoming a real star. Anybody got a buck? Hey.
Hey, you are getting real big. You're getting pretty grande.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should just credit Izzy. That's Chris becomes Izzy. They should just credit him with inventing everything.
Oh,
like
wow. Name change, too.
He had to change his name to join the 80s metal band.
Okay,
because,
okay.
it was not him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a phony.
Can't really rock with your name, Chris.
No. And then at one point, like, Chris is getting seduced by the band's publicist who travels with them.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever, they have an orgy. The whole band and all the groupies and everything. And then he wakes up the next morning and they've clearly had sex, him and the like publicist, but she's standing up to pee. and like you're like, whoa, things really are wild in Hollywood.
It's a different world.
Yeah. It might be my favorite movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's really good. Have you been you've been at home.
Yeah.
Locked up.
Yes. Locked up abroad.
Locked up abroad. Do you feel like you've been getting in touch with any like old comfort foods in terms of movies and food, TV and stuff like that?
Dude, my attention span is so bad. I've been having such a hard time like concentrating. It took me 72 hours to watch the movie 48 Hours. Like I just kept watching parts, pausing, making meatballs, coming back, just like I gotta rewind. And I don't know. I've been like I've just been binge watching shitty TV like 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah. I haven't been watching this season as much because I watched the whole last season, and I actually feel like it's bad for your attention span and for your brain because it moves at such a pace, but the episodes are so incredibly long.
Yeah.
That it locks you in because it's like, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing?
Yeah, and I'm like up on all the gossip from like Angela and Michael in, the Sudan.
Yeah.
And yet I don't know what's happening with the next stimulus package.
Right.
Like something that deeply affects me. And I'm just like, well, Paul and Lorena, I hope they make it,
Yeah, there's a huge gap in between, like, well, I need to escape the news sometimes, and my priorities are completely out of whack.
Oh, totally. I mean, like, yeah, you definitely need an escape, but like, I mean, if I'm knowing the ins and outs of a man that's going to the Philippines to marry a woman who's younger than his daughter, it's like I gotta look in the mirror.
Yeah. But then, like, Big Ed becomes a celebrity, right?
Yeah, which is like crazy. I've been working my dick off for 10 years, and he's got infinite amount more Instagram followers than me, and I'm like, should I just put mayonnaise in my hair? Like,
well, you realize too, you're like, wait, if I was a comedian but didn't have a neck, would people be like, you guys see this guy?
I know, it's
amazing.
I've already made an appointment with a plastic surgeon. Like, just cut out a vertebrae. We gotta do this.
Yeah. Do you actually think like that when you see people get famous over conceivably nothing? Like, what am I doing working so hard? Or do you realize like they're really not famous for the same reasons I want to be? Because you don't want to be famous, you want to be successful, right?
Yeah, totally. And like he's like a complete like all his shit is just like hatred. Like, you're such a mean person. He's like, I love all my fans. Like that. Did you know that baby girl Lisa that married Usman?
Yeah, of course, baby girl Lisa. Yeah.
She like just is riding out a song that doesn't even have. It's just her going, boss girl. It's like, okay, take the followers. That's fine. I don't need that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when you realize like the currency of followers. You're like, it doesn't correlate all the time.
No. And just like seeing these people and then like the reckoning they have with like, we have footage of you being a shitty liar, and I'm like, well, thank God I don't have cameras following me around. I just have ingrained memories.
Yeah. There was that one guy on 90 Day Fiance the last season who was on the whole season, and he was like, I had some problems with some of my exes, and he was the one with the crazy Russian girl who showed up at his house.
Yes.
And like
which was totally provoked by the producers.
completely, they were like, it'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Just go visit
Yeah,
him.
they're like, we really think he loves you and wants to see you. Meanwhile, he's ignoring every instance of her reaching out.
Yeah.
And he just kept milking like, I was a drug dealer and I can't get past my past. And she's like, okay, we can move past your past. And he's like, I just can't do it.
Yeah. And then he's like, why'd you tell your parents that? What?
Yeah.
And we're like,
It was so weird. He like sat them down and was like, I have to let you know I was in jail. It's like, you don't have to let them know.
No.
You don't have to do that at all.
That's you could tell them later on.
Yeah.
Like once your kind of relationship builds and they get to know your character a little bit, but not first meeting. That's a terrible way to meet for the
what
first
about
time.
that poor guy that was going to Russia to meet that woman, and she was like, I have to be with my nephew. And then he would just fly back to America. I was like, I'll get her next time.
Yeah. But he did. Yeah, he wound up getting her. He wound up getting her the one time. Except then when they did the 90 Day Fiance reunion,
Yeah.
she wasn't there.
No.
He was like, Lana's not coming, but we're still together, but I haven't talked to her.
Yeah, and it's only on this pay for talk service. And also, I have a duster.
Yeah.
He was like this rich guy that was like, I have so much money, but he wore like an old duster that smells like cigarettes.
Yeah.
You know?
I paid a huge amount of money for this coat in 1993.
Yes.
The rest of the money has gone to this dating website.
All of my money is in this coat. This is all I have.
Yeah.
I mean, that poor fucking guy. But at the end of the day, you have to be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, he had a private investigator. The guy was like, you are a fool. She is playing you. And he's like, you're fired.
Yeah. I've never seen somebody fire. So he fired multiple private investigators because they were giving him bad news.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, I need, it's like,
Well, that's like Trump being like, well, we're not going to take news from the CDC anymore.
Right. I mean, it's literally the same philosophy as we wouldn't have the positive results if we weren't testing.
Stopped testing.
Yeah. You're like, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It is true.
I wouldn't know that she's using me if I didn't keep hiring investigators.
Yeah. I keep getting bad news from all these investigators.
Yeah.
I see what the problem is.
Yes.
The investigators. But you can't really watch. You can't sit down and watch. Have you been a movie person before, or has it never been your thing?
The movies I watch. I mean, yeah, I have watched movies, but it's always like movies I've seen before. Like I'll just go back to like my comforts or my favorites.
Right.
You know?
Like you can't. You're like, I can't commit the time to seeing if I like
yeah,
this.
but I mean, I did watch like John Wick and I loved it, and I saw the movie I See You the other day, which was it's like a psychological thriller with Helen Hunt.
Huh?
And man, she
Is it new?
is hunting for her upper lip. It is. Her face is. I mean, God bless her, but
Yeah.
whoa, man. Just sometimes you gotta stop going under the knife.
Yeah, Helen. I feel bad for somebody like Helen Hunt though, because I've seen her face. Like maybe ICU was the poster that I saw, but I saw her on a poster, and it was like a skull.
Yeah.
Like it looked like a skull, and I was like, I don't know what. Maybe that's what happens to a person, because she had this career, right? Like she had Mad About You.
Yes.
Huge. Twister.
Yes.
Huge. As good as it gets.
Yes.
Through the roof.
Yep.
And then it was like, we're kind of finished.
I
And
mean,
she
maybe
was-
it was like the musicians where she had someone who's like, you need to change things around. She's like,
Yeah.
here comes a new face.
Yeah, it really is. It's not like you can't. It's that middle period. Like if she were old, she could just be like, oh, I'll just play an old lady in movies.
Right.
But because she's in that middle part, she's like, oh, I'll just cut off any excess flesh and I can still be young.
Yeah. It's like, no, take a page out of Sally Field's book. You can age gracefully.
Yeah,
You know.
that's right. Yeah, well, she had Mrs. Doubtfire though.
Oh, yes.
You gotta have Mrs. Doubtfire to age gracefully.
Yeah.
But, plus, like the reason Sally Field could age gracefully is because in Mrs. Doubtfire they were like, yeah, this is the type of woman Pierce Brosnan in his prime would be attracted to.
Yeah.
Sally Field.
Yeah. That's so funny. With like a bob haircut.
Yeah. Definitely. If Pierce Brosnan in his prime met Sally Field,
That's
middle-aged
I never
Sally
thought of
Field
that. That's
with
so
3
funny.
kids,
Yeah.
definitely who he would pick.
Yeah, and just some creepy old woman that won't leave them away. He's like, I need to be here.
Definitely. Like literally the guy who's like, you know what he should do after this? He should definitely be James Bond.
Yeah.
That guy would definitely go for middle-aged Sally Field with a Robin Williams nanny and 3 kids.
Well, that's funny to reimagine Mrs. Doubtfire as a James Bond origin story.
Yeah, like all the suspicion that Robin Williams had about Pierce Brosnan, it was like, no, it was true. He was in the basement,
Yeah.
like getting ready to be a spy.
Yeah. I mean, I'll watch new movies and stuff, but I just like, I'll make my girlfriend watch with me like, What About Bob? I'm just like, yeah, I'm saying all the words. You know?
I know this movie.
Yeah. Ahoy! You know.
She's like, no, I'm aware this movie's been out for a while.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see it. But...
I'm entertaining you right now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying not to kill you. Have fun.
Yeah, isn't that fun? Like, you will. I'll do. I mean, I've been with my wife for so long now. Like, I'm pretty much out of stuff to show her for the first time.
Right.
Like, to the point where now I'll be like, let's watch Halloween 3: Season of the Witch for the first time, and she's like, I won't even. I don't like this movie. This is
right.
This is bad.
Do you guys discover new movies together, or are you like, no, I'm not into that, or will you give it a chance?
No, I'll give it. I'll watch. I mean, I'll try anything, but like, if it comes across as stupid very quickly, I'm like, I can't
help but just talk over it and like make fun of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Like, yeah. She was watching. I completely ruined a show that she was watching on Hulu. It was like the Reese Witherspoon show that came out a few months ago because, like, I guess it takes place in the 90s, and this girl kept talking about like, hey, what flavor Snapple are you getting? And was like all these like so over the top 90s references. And like I was kind of listening with one ear and I was like, hey, is that character like obsessed with the 90s and making bad references? And she was like, no, that's when the show takes place and she's just being natural. And I was like, oh, no, she's not. And I just went back to what I was doing. And like a week later, she was like, you ruined the show for me. I can't see past that.
You poison the well.
Yeah, because these references are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am impatient like that. No, we've gotten to a point now where like I'm pretty much only wanting to watch horror movies, and she never wants to watch horror movies. So now I'll like put something on, wait until she falls asleep, and then like within 5 minutes turn on.
Well, what
some
kind
horror
of
movie.
horror? Because I feel like every horror movie is the same. Like this child has problems. You know? Oh, here's a jump scare.
Well, yeah. I really like 80s horror movies, even bad ones, because I just feel like there's so much creativity put into them in the sense that like most people would be like, this is not, you shouldn't make this movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like you come up with this really odd idea. Like I watched this movie recently that I was like in love with called Class of 1984. And it's basically, it's like the sort of Dangerous Minds type thing where the good teacher comes into the bad school and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be stupid, but whatever. I'll just turn it on. It was like the middle of the afternoon. And then what ends up happening is like there's this gang of like pseudo Nazis in the school. Like they're like a pseudo Nazi gang, and they're like terrorizing the school. But the principal doesn't. But every time they go to the principal's office, they're like, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. And they're like these white kids, so the principal believes them. But they're Nazis who like literally rape.
Jesus
Christ! And I'm like, what is gonna happen next in this movie? And it gets to the point where there is like a movie ending fight scene between the teacher and the students.
I mean, it's, to think that they're like, okay, all right, in this scene, we're all here together and we're gonna film it. Rape this person.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like you go back, and I just love stuff where I'm questioning like how.
Yeah.
How did this?
Which is weird because at the time when you're watching, even years ago, you're like, okay, I'm taking this in, whatever. And then now we're like critically being like, how? Why?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there was a time when like rape scenes were just used as, well, we need to drive the hero over the edge. So we'll just have the bad guy rape a loved one.
Yeah.
And it was just a thing that was done.
Yeah.
And now you watch that going like, how could you possibly put this in a movie?
Yeah,
you know how many people are going to watch this and be traumatized?
Right.
But, I mean, that's when you realize, like, oh.
That was a driving factor for, like, someone needs vengeance. Let's rape someone.
That dude would just do it all the time.
Yeah.
And that's when you, like, start looking at some of that stuff and you go, oh, maybe there is a bunch of stuff that's been happening for a long time.
Yeah.
That has been really been damaging to people that nobody has said anything about.
And I think that kind of fucked up the definition of rape because there's, like, shades to it. But everybody for a while was like, no, rape is, like, held down and alley.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
It's Jeff Goldblum in Death Wish.
Yeah,
It's like, you know,
that's
somebody
rape.
Kicks the door down and does it. Yeah.
And dude, speaking of that, I don't know if you've heard of this horror movie. I think it's called The Breather.
The Breather.
It is like, I think that's what it's, dude. It is. It was one of those movies where I was like, oh, this is going to be campy, and I'll like have fun with how bad it is. It was just like so bad that it was like disturbing.
Mhm.
Like there's a guy that's calling someone, and he's literally just the breather, but he's wearing like a bag over his head, and his breathing isn't like I thought it was going to try to be scary, but I think it was the first like comedy horror movie, but the comedy is just like way off. So the guy's like breathing like on the phone, and the woman's like, ah! And I'm like, what is
You're like,
this?
what is this supposed to be?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to be feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like two things a lot. I like over the top creativity where they're just presenting it without blinking. Like they're going, this is what this movie is. They're not
Right.
trying to turn it into anything that's a little bit more commercially friendly. They're not turning it into, they're just going, no, this is the most outrageous idea for a movie. This makes no sense.
Like Toxic Avenger.
Exactly. I love
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger. I love all, I mean, there's a Return to Nukem High poster right behind you.
Oh,
Like, I
hell yeah.
love trauma movies.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Like, they write this script and they're like, no, this is what the movie is. We're not apologizing for it. We're not trying to make it something it isn't.
Yeah.
It's going to appeal to the people that like it.
That
and
like
that's
running
it.
people over for fun.
Right. right. I was working. So I watched, and that's another thing that I realized that was way more prevalent in movies. Like the culture of fear that was so much more prevalent in like 80s horror type movies. Like there are tons of movies where the bad characters just literally drive down the street running people over for fun. Like that's a thing that people do. It's like nobody does that.
Well, I think it taps into a thing because I think it's a natural thing to be driving and be like, I could hit someone and get away with it. Yeah, okay, that's an insane thought. And I think they just grab onto insane thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, well, let's make a movie about it.
Right, because since you've had that thought and you would never do it.
Right.
But now they're saying, but what if you did? But
Yeah.
even more scary, what if that guy did?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, if I know not to do it, that doesn't mean that guy knows not to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes that, and I think that's a fear of like, what if I follow that thought? And you're like, oh, that could never happen. They're like, okay, we're gonna put that in every movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And they did. It was like every movie was the bad guys running people up. But I love, if you're telling me that the villain in this movie just starts the movie by running people over and that's how they establish he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's give it a chance.
Yeah.
Let's give it a spin. Let's see. I'll probably like
Well,
this.
Toxic Avenger is just like, and what's crazy is that they made it into a kid's cartoon.
Dude.
With the best toys ever.
I know.
By the way.
That was my first exposure to it was Toxic Crusaders.
Yes.
Where I had the toys, I watched the
Yes.
cartoon.
Yep.
And knowing where it came from, you're like,
Is deeply disturbing.
it's crazy.
Deeply disturbing.
But it's to me even more the fact that Lloyd Kaufman from Trauma took all the money he made from Toxic Avenger and Toxic Crusaders, and instead of doing more like, oh, maybe we should just veer the business this way and start doing movies that we can turn into kids' cartoons. He was like, let's make Cannibal the musical. Let's make let's make things that are let's use this money to create in-camera effects that are just grotesque.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And I love that. So I like that, and I love movies where you're out of your comfort zone to the extent that like you're not getting out. Like there's like you made one mistake and there's no place for you to go now, and you're fucked.
Like what?
Like, so I watched Eli Roth did a movie called Green Inferno kind of recently, like within the last 5 years probably. But it's a cannibal movie. Like it's back to like in the 70s that was a real genre. Like that was a subgenre. It was cannibal horror movies, and he made this movie The Green Inferno like that. And it's great because it's like these woke college kids get on a plane to save the rainforest, and they chain themselves to the trees and everything, and they're like, you can't cut down our trees. And then on their way out of the rainforest, the plane breaks down and crashes, and they get stuck in the jungle with cannibals who really don't care that they were trying to save the rainforest. But like the moment when the cannibals get them, they eat one of the kids right in front of everybody. Everybody's locked in the cages, and they're just in this cannibal village. And you're like, I'd be thinking to myself right now, I wish I hadn't come on this trip.
Yeah.
Like if I just
Are trees that important?
if I just hadn't come on this trip, I wouldn't be stuck in this cannibal cage right now.
Yeah. Well, that's like those, humanitarians that are like, I'm going to prove that Islamist extremists aren't bad. I'm going to travel through the mountains of Pakistan leading into China alone and show that the love prevails all. And then they just get like tortured and murdered. And you're like, yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. I think proving that Islam and Muslim people are not bad,
Yeah.
that's good. But when you
Yes.
add extremists to the end of
Yes.
whatever,
Totally.
it's going to be bad.
And when you dangle yourself out like, a piece of meat in a lion's den,
Yeah.
that's, incredible people, wonderful religion. Going into the lion's den with that and being like, I will show the goodness of their hearts. They're like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong in a heartbeat.
yeah.
You know?
It's like that Grizzly Man movie.
Yes.
Where the guy was like, I can live with the bears. The bears
Yeah.
get me. They don't
The
understand.
we have an understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you think this was going to go?
Yeah.
You're going to end up in a bear's belly.
Yeah. Totally.
He's definitely
And-
going to eat you.
And you're going to tape it. And that's going to be your legacy. Getting eaten on camera.
Yeah. It's not even going to be like the guy that lived with the bears. It's going to be like the guy from the movie that got eaten by the bear.
Yeah. No one will be like the guy who helped bears. It's not that.
No, it's the guy who helped bears' appetite.
Yeah. Who kept their bellies full.
Yeah.
The human salmon.
Yeah. So you'll like, are you showing your girlfriend What About Bob and stuff like that for the first, like it's her first time seeing it?
Yeah.
And is she enjoying it or is she just placating you?
Yeah, she's digging it. I tried to watch Airplane, and that was just like, no.
You didn't like it?
No. I've seen it before.
Oh, she didn't like it.
But yeah, and same with Uncle Buck.
Whoa.
Yeah. But to her defense, late at night, tired. Work
How
in
old
the
is she?
morning. She's 26.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess I could see that, but maybe I feel like Uncle Buck is one of those that you got to go back like on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
When
it's not, and we had just got done watching like a bunch of other stuff. So the attention span wasn't there. That you're totally right. That's like a rainy day, Sunday afternoon type movie.
Yeah.
Not just like, hey, let's tack this on to 4 other things that we've been entertained with tonight.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, that's the position when you're tacking something on at the end like that. That's the position.
You know what it was after? It was Always Be My Maybe. With Ali Wong. That's what we watched beforehand. And then in my head, I was like, time for Uncle Buck.
Right. And by the way, that works if you love Uncle Buck already. Like
Yeah.
if you've seen it and
Yes,
you love it, like
yes.
that's the perfect time
That
for
is
it.
not introduction time to
No.
Uncle Buck.
No, it's not
No.
introduction time to anything
No.
at that point.
No.
Yeah.
You definitely need a palate cleanser, just like a day of not watching anything after Always Be My Maybe. And we watch it, we're both kind of like teary-eyed, like, this is so beautiful. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Now let's look at this degenerate gambler take care of a family.
Look how big the pancake is, though, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't that great?
Right? Have you seen on YouTube like the series that they tried to make out of Uncle Buck?
No.
I forget who was in it. It was not John Candy.
Wait, hold on. Oh yeah.
They tried. It was
John Candy hologram. Wait, wasn't it with like David Allen Greer, like Marlon Wayans or someone?
No, I think they
Mike Epps.
that was the. Oh, no. They did an old one, like when Uncle Buck first came out.
Uh-huh.
They did a series that was supposed to be a continuation of the film.
Oh, okay.
And it
That's
was like a
what- okay.
disaster. Yeah, I think Mike Epps did a series too that didn't go anywhere. I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
if it ever came out, I didn't hear anything about it. But yeah, Uncle Buck was one of those movies that they tried to do a series out of. There's something about failed '80s sitcoms that I find very interesting.
Yeah. Well, they did that with Ghostbusters. They turned that movie into a new series. Like, I think it can work with a cartoon, but to do
Yeah,
live action is just not going to work. You
Right.
get too involved with the characters to then see someone else.
Right. Plus,
Yeah.
when they turn it into a cartoon, it's almost like we're taking the themes from this,
Yeah.
but we're just doing something for kids.
Yeah. And also, it's so sad if they do that with like live action and it's just one of the actors and they have to act like everyone else is still the same.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
God, it's so different. Just stop.
Yeah, you're like, oh, everybody else is busy, huh?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
you know
yeah.
way too much
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those that like even if you
Someone's
need
got to pay child support.
Yeah. And you know too, like even if you need the gig, you're like, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I really shouldn't out of principle.
Yeah, right.
I don't know why Lila's barking so much.
I don't know. She's mad about it too.
Yeah. She's like
It's like remaking Uncle Buck. Fuck that.
Well, look, Ian, do you feel like you found any sort of creative outlet outside of stand-up since you haven't been doing like traditional stand-up?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've gone like, oh, if you weren't doing stand up, you could do this instead.
Yeah, like I have 2 shows that were like pitching and working on like developing and everything. It's been such a process, but it's been good. Me and 2 other comics were putting out a cartoon every day, which was like great at the beginning of quarantine. And I've been teaching myself guitar, which has been great.
On tabs?
Some tabs, but a lot of scales.
Okay.
I can play the beginning of Under the Bridge, like you wouldn't believe, you know?
That's so like the first.
Uh-huh.
I want to learn how to play guitar so I can play Under the Bridge.
Yep. Yep. There
it's
it
like,
is.
It's like that and I Walk the Line by Johnny Cash. That
Oh, yeah.
boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Boom. Yeah.
And it's just that repeated over and over until I master that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been trying to like do normal things that I was neglecting before when stand-up was and like acting and stuff was my only thing I cared about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I made that my entire life and purpose, and now that it's gone, I'm like, oh, I gotta have like not a backup plan for work, but a backup plan for like living.
Yeah.
You know, like a backup plan to like do. So I've been like, you know, meeting up with friends and like exercising. I've really been getting into exercising and like, you know, riding a bike to meet up with people in these like bike meetups, which is great. I'm like helping friends get into bike riding, like calling people back that I, you know, just
Right.
didn't talk to because we keep different hours.
Like
know?
you're actually living life. You're like, oh, this is what
Yeah.
a functioning life is
Yeah,
supposed
I'm
to
like
be. Like you're-
cooking, looking up recipes, you know.
yeah, when you're not, you can figure out work-life balance when you're not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I do feel like my nights, I'm like, what? I'm just going home and like watching TV and eating? What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, I guess that's true because during the day it's like you're not doing any of this instead of something because you wouldn't
Yeah.
be working in the day anyway. But it's night when everybody's like, all right, see you later, and you just go home. You're like, I should be doing something.
I know. Well, I'm like writing scripts and everything, but then it's like I get to take a break, and then I'm like, I get to do a million things in this break that I neglected because I was, you know, working on my shit for 2 days.
Right.
And then it's, you know, this like ping pong of stuff.
Yeah.
But I've been, you know, the one thing that I have to do is get a podcast. I gotta start a podcast. No one's doing it, and I just feel like I would be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I think
you
so
know?
too. I feel like it's just a wide open landscape
Yes,
right now,
it
and
is.
it's something that. And I will tell you, there are a lot of podcasts out there, but not a lot of comedy podcasts.
No, they're
most
not.
comedians are not doing.
I
that.
was thinking about one where like we just shoot the shit, and
Hmm.
you know,
You know what could be interesting if it's you and another comedian
yes,
shooting
white,
the shit.
yes,
Male.
male,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. You think Mark Maron knows that like he just created the like everybody looked at what Mark Maron was doing not as that's one type of podcast. They were
Right,
like,
right.
that's
That's
what
the
that's a
podcast.
podcast. That's what a
Yes.
podcast is.
Yes, I know.
It's like, no, you don't have to. And you're, no. Mark Maron's podcast, he's just doing a podcast.
Yeah,
The only other way to do a podcast is if instead of Mark Maron, it's me, and it's those people who talk to me. Like that's the podcast.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, do you think you're gonna do a podcast?
I people have hit me up about doing them, and I, you know, have been like, no, I don't know. And there was these 2 comics want to do one where one of them takes like an idea from philosophy and explains it to us because we know nothing about it. And just kind of like breaks it down, called futon philosophy.
That works for me.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it
You
could be.
know.
I mean, the thing about a podcast is you could just record it
Yeah.
and then
Well, I want to learn something. Like I want to like learn things during this time. And
Right.
if someone can explain it to me like I'm a kid, I'll be like, okay, I understand it better, you know? And instead of, because if I like, I was kind of looking up some stuff online about maybe like taking classes. I'm like, this is just too much.
yeah,
Just sitting alone and reading, you know, these like long dissertations. If someone's talking to me in my ear about it, I'll be able to like retain it much more.
Right.
You know?
yeah. I mean, you could always go back to doing a '90s nostalgia podcast too.
I mean, I think that's what I'd really love to do. You know?
I feel honestly like, are there a bunch of '90s nostalgia podcasts? I feel like not
I don't
really.
think so. And also, the trip up here was not bad.
I would do.
You know,
I would do a '90s nostalgia podcast in a heartbeat.
I was thinking like coming up here, I thought of some ideas, and I was like, what if we like went through different albums or saw like I was thinking about the Third Eye Blind self-titled. It was like a concept album, but the lyrics are like totally like why the fuck are you doing this? And like hearing that, or like going through an album or something that is just like, I wish I could talk to Stephen Jenkins about being on meth and writing that album in San Francisco.
Wouldn't it be great though if we could figure out a 90s nostalgia podcast, right? And we could go through albums or whatever.
Yeah.
And it could get to the point where it doesn't seem like the podcast would be that big that we could talk to Stephen Jenkins, right?
Right.
Like he's not that big of a get. Like you get it to enough where it's enough people, and we could probably get him and go like, we got to talk about this.
Yeah,
you got to.
And also the next phase, we're rewatching everything from Snick.
I'm there for it. I'm a little worried now. Which lineup of Snick are you thinking?
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Right.
All that. Alex Mack.
Yep.
What was that show with Susan Ellerby? The Kids News or whatever. Remember
Nick News? Yeah.
Nick News.
Yeah, Nick News with Linda
coming
Ellerby.
Coming on
That's right. Yeah,
Sunday nights.
When Linda Ellerby would come on, it'd be like, we're going back to school, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, I got to turn this off.
Yes,
like,
it was like, wow, time to fucking homework, kick it into third gear.
Yeah, Linda Ellerby's on. This is bad. This is real bad. Yeah, it was, Alex Mack, I feel like, because wasn't the original Snick 8 p.m. show Clarissa Explains It All?
Oh my God, Clarissa Explains
It All. And then
it
became Alex Mack. I still feel like Alex Mack, all that, whatever was on at 9, I feel like it might have been a cartoon. And then Are You Afraid of the Dark is the quintessential lineup, though.
Right.
For me.
I mean, that intro scared the shit out of me.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh my God. Yeah. I couldn't watch it.
No.
And then now I watch it and it's just like the same formula for every show. And it's like these kids, realistically, if it was made now, they'd be doing pills in the woods.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
Yeah. And now the tale of the nodding off teenager.
Yeah, except for you'd always like hope. Once I was old enough to still be like young enough to still be watching that show, but old enough that I wasn't scared of it anymore. I'd be like, please let this be one that doesn't have a happy ending, please. And there was like two episodes that didn't have happy endings, and those were the best ones. There's like the one where they stole the clown's cigar, or they stole the clown's nose in the fun house, and then the clown is like chasing them throughout, and like they realize at the end the clown is still chasing them. I'm like, that's what I'm looking for, not like, all right, we beat him. Thank God.
We undid the monkey's paw.
Yeah, exactly. And they throw the dust on the fire, and they declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed.
Yeah. And if that happened today, it would be like they would throw gasoline on the fire and film it for like a TikTok.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely. They'd like they'd find some flammable food and just start throwing.
Oh, totally.
Like, they put Mentos and Diet Coke and kerosene. And then just
shake it up and spray
shoot
on
it to the to the flames. Yeah. We could do a podcast where we just a Snick.
Oh my God.
Podcast.
Snicker treat.
Snicker, yeah. We could do it like a limited run.
Yeah.
We could do 31 episodes.
Yes.
And just
where we just talk about children.
Yeah. And put them out every day in October.
Yeah.
And it's Snicker treat.
Snicker treat. Yeah. I love it. But dude, I could get so lost into a rabbit hole of like 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Like so easily. And like even just like the phenomenon of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, of that war and what it did to teenagers and dancing.
Oh, yeah. And then and you look at like the popular kids of that era.
Yeah.
And you're like, this changed it destroyed music.
Yeah.
I mean, for it destroyed popular music anyway. Like after that, it never recovered popular music really.
Well, it like Nirvana hit, and then after that it was like, I guess Dave Matthews Band. You know, like they were like, nothing will top this. We got to shift things that astronomically.
Yeah. And then you find out that while this NSYNC Backstreet Boy war was going on, that there was one big fat guy just taking everybody's money.
Yes.
Just Lou Pearlman was like taking all their money and then being like, here's my new band, O-Town.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You can't just keep...
Yeah.
It's a terrible manager.
Yeah.
You can't just keep doing this.
Get at just using them like a puppy mill.
Yeah.
You know? Here's all for one.
Especially because now it's been all for one.
Yeah.
Especially because I think about like all the Save Britney stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
what is going on with that?
Well, because she's gone so nuts that her dad and attorney have complete control over her business and her decisions.
Mhm.
And a bunch of Britney fans are going like they're abusing their power. Like Britney should be free.
Is she trapped in her house or?
And that's what they're saying, but Britney
Right.
can't talk about it
Ugh.
because they won't let her.
Ugh.
So all she's doing is putting out these psychotic Instagram dancing videos. Her Instagram is the craziest thing you've ever seen.
I gotta check it out.
Like when you think about the level of star that Britney Spears was,
right.
and how she was like the fantasy girl for every guy, and now you're looking and you just see sadness and desperation
Oh,
in her
God.
eyes while she's like doing really weird dances
Oh God.
to Rihanna songs on Instagram.
It's like an Instagram version of Amanda Bynes' face tattoo.
Yes. And everybody thinks she's trapped. Everybody thinks it's like that episode of Black Mirror that Miley Cyrus was on. Her dad and her attorney and all that, they have her trapped in there.
Uh-huh.
Nobody can get to her. Every time there's a court hearing about it, they seal the courtroom so nobody can know what's going on
What?
inside. There's always protesters outside, always Free Britney people outside.
What?
Yeah, but nobody knows for sure what's going on.
Wow.
Nobody.
Jessica Simpson won that battle. She
By
came out
a-
on top.
By a mile.
Yeah.
By a mile. All shit. Coming out and being like, what's the difference between chicken and tuna?
Yep.
Greatest business move you could
All
ever
you
make.
needed was a lobotomy and God, and you would have been fine, Brittany.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible.
Damn, I gotta look at that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so sad.
Yeah, I don't even know if you want to. Yeah.
I just watch Rockstar and
Just watch Rockstar and
that's-
enjoy it.
I'll
Just enjoy. That's what you and your girlfriend should just sit down and
watch
just watch Rockstar.
and get in that warm cocoon of just.
You know what I would love? I'd love if you went back home and you're like, Sam recommended this movie, and no context, just be like, he said it's his favorite movie,
And just make her watch.
and just see how she reacts. Like, who's this guy that
And
you're?
have a timer before questions start.
yeah. It's incredible. Well, look, we'll have to deep dive into some of this stuff again. Maybe
Yeah.
next time you come out, we'll just figure out some stuff
Yeah.
from that era that we should deep dive,
Yeah.
because I could do that all day long.
Me too.
Like, I was wrapping you up like 20 minutes ago, I feel like, and then
Oh,
we started
yeah.
talking about
My
Snick.
bad.
No,
Yeah.
don't say you're back, because we started talking about Snick, and
I
it's like,
know.
all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Incredible. Thank you, man. This is
Of
great.
course, yeah. Where
Yeah.
can people find you or check out your stuff? Or
My Instagram is just my name, Ian Fidance, and I have videos coming out, and I did a couple things a while back that I've been waiting for editing stuff, so they're going to be coming out soon. So, yeah, just follow me on Instagram.
follow Ian on Instagram. And thanks to Ian, I guess we're back. The Notsam Studio is back in business. We're back. There's
Woo!
people in here. There's guests.
We're back, baby.
We're back.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.